The night my wife walked away, the sound of the door closing felt louder than thunder, as if it had slammed shut not just on our marriage but on the man I thought I was. I stood there frozen in the dim hallway, holding our sleeping son in my arms, realizing that in a single moment I had been rejected as a husband and promoted, without warning, to the most important role of my life. I didn't cry then. Shock doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it comes with silence so heavy it steals your breath. Before this story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength it takes to keep going when life falls apart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. My name is Daniel Carter, and until that night, I thought my life was ordinary in the safest way. I worked long hours at a logistics warehouse, came home tired, kissed my wife Emily on the forehead, and lifted our 5-year-old son Noah into the air until he laughed so hard his face turned red. I believed love was about endurance, about surviving the rough seasons until things got easier. What I didn't understand was how lonely Emily had become, how my silence and exhaustion felt like abandonment to her. When she finally told me she was done, it didn't come with screaming or insults. It came with a calmness that terrified me more than anger ever could. She said she felt invisible, that she wanted a different life, and that staying felt like slowly disappearing. By the time I tried to explain myself, she was already packing. The next morning, sunlight crept through the curtains like it didn't know anything had changed. Noah woke up asking for his mother, and that was when reality finally crushed me. I made breakfast with shaking hands, burned the toast, and smiled anyway. I told him mommy was taking some time away, because how do you explain rejection to a child whose world is still small and soft? After dropping him at kindergarten, I sat alone in my car in the parking lot long after the engine stopped, staring at the steering wheel as if it might tell me what to do next. I felt like a failure, like I had been weighed and found lacking. The first weeks as a single dad were brutal in ways I never expected. Mornings were rushed and chaotic, nights were painfully quiet. The house felt bigger and emptier, every corner echoing with memories of laughter that now felt like a taunt. I learned quickly that strength isn't something you suddenly have, it's something you borrow from necessity. I learned how to braid hair from online videos, how to pack lunches that didn't come back untouched, how to sit beside a small bed at night until nightmares loosened their grip on a frightened child. There were moments I locked myself in the bathroom just to breathe, just to remind myself I was still standing. Money became another silent enemy. Emily's absence meant one income, more expenses, and constant worry. I took extra shifts, came home exhausted, and still found the energy to read bedtime stories because Noah's eyes searched my face for reassurance. Some nights, after he fell asleep, I sat on the floor of the living room surrounded by toys, wondering if love was supposed to hurt this much. I questioned every mistake I had ever made, replayed conversations in my head, and wondered if becoming a better man too late was the cruelest punishment of all. But change doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as routine. I started waking up earlier, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Those early mornings became sacred. I made coffee, watched the sunrise through the kitchen window, and planned the day like a mission instead of a burden. I stopped seeing myself as a man who had been left and started seeing myself as a father who had been chosen. Noah didn't care about my regrets or my past failures. He cared that I showed up, that I listened, that I was there when he reached for my hand. Slowly, my confidence grew, not the loud, proud kind, but the steady kind that comes from doing hard things every day without applause. I enrolled Noah in a local soccer program and watched from the sidelines, cheering louder than anyone else. I cooked healthier meals, kept the house cleaner, and even started exercising late at night after Noah slept, not to impress anyone but to feel alive again. People at work noticed the change. I stood straighter. I spoke with purpose. Pain had carved something stronger out of me. There were setbacks, of course. Emily called occasionally, her voice distant, asking about Noah. Each call reopened wounds I thought had healed. Part of me hoped she would see the man I was becoming and regret leaving. Another part of me knew that my growth couldn't depend on her return. I had to become strong not to prove her wrong, but to prove to my son that abandonment does not define your worth. One evening, months later, Noah came home from school with a drawing. It showed two stick figures holding hands under a crooked sun. He told me it was us. In that moment, something inside me finally broke open, not in pain, but in gratitude. I realized that while my wife had rejected me, life had handed me a deeper purpose. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building something new, something honest, something rooted in love and responsibility. Time passed, and the ache softened. I stopped counting days since Emily left and started measuring life in milestones. First lost tooth, first goal scored, first time Noah said he felt safe. I learned that being a strong single dad didn't mean never feeling weak. It meant feeling everything and still choosing to stand up the next morning. It meant forgiving myself, even when others didn't. It meant understanding that sometimes people leave not because you are unworthy, but because they are unfinished. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see a man who was rejected. I see a father who was tested and transformed. I see someone who turned heartbreak into backbone, loneliness into leadership, and loss into love. My wife walking away was the end of one story, but it was the beginning of another, one where I finally learned who I was meant to be. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of your own struggles or gave you hope during a hard season, please like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach the people who are quietly fighting battles of their own. And before this video ends, take a moment to comment below and tell us what part of this journey stayed with you the most. Because sometimes, the strongest families are not the ones that stay perfect, but the ones that rise from broken pieces and choose love anyway.